or season 2 of this real people, real stories. So we're happy to have you here. So maybe just introduce yourself to us and tell us your name, and then we pick it up from there.
So my name is Levi Kones. Some people call me Levi or Levi. I'll answer to all those. I don't know what else to say about myself. I'm a husband of one and a father of 3 girls. And I'm a journalist by profession and an author of 2 books.
So Levi, maybe let me just start by explaining where I met you. So I met you in ROPES program, which is a program that Nairobi Baptist does. So one of your daughters was going through ROPES. Yeah. And I think that's the first time we interacted, because I think you're talking to me about media and how we are teaching the media. Yeah. And that's how your interest was in that area. At that point, what were you feeling about Baptist at that time? How did you end up now joining the ROPES program?
Well, I came to Nairobi Baptist initially. I believe it was just during the COVID time. Personally, I was at a bred Pentecostal. Went to Valley Road, actually down the road for Sunday school, for Fortress Youth Fellowship. Became an adult through that church. But during that time, just initially before the COVID time, we were looking for a place with my wife where we could find a vibrant Sunday school. It's a Sunday school that brought us here. Oh. And someone told us that the Sunday school in Nairobi Baptist was just exceptional. So we came with our kids, our 3 girls then, and the younger ones really enjoyed it. We have one who was out of the bracket already. She's now 22. And my middle daughter is the one who ended up now getting into ROPES. As a result, when she got into ROPES, that was now 2 years back. And when she got into ROPES, and I was a parent at ROPES, attending ROPES became an obligation for me to do, because I like to be very hands-on, to be right there. And I liked the program so much that I stayed on after she left.
And before you were at NPC, maybe you can tell us a little bit about where did you grow up? Did you grow up in Nairobi, or did you grow up
I grew up in Nairobi, born and bred in Nairobi. When I was born, my parents were living in Kibra way back in the late 70s. And most of my life now was in South B, because we moved there for some time. When I was about 14 years old, my father got transferred to Eldoret. He was a banker.
Oh. Kibra in that time, so in 1970?
1977.
77.
Yes.
Do you remember Kibra, South B?
No, I don't remember anything about Kibra really. I was just a toddler.
And South B, what's different between?
I do remember, because we went to Huruma first. I think I must have been 4 or 5 years old when we lived in Huruma. I remember we used to go then initially to the Redeemed Gospel Church. The Bishop Gitonga was just starting out there. And then I remember something about a blast in 1982. And then now we moved to South B. So when we moved to South B, a lot of because that's when we started going to Valley Road. And I think that's the time my cognitive skills were really developing well. So I do remember a lot about that. I've got friends, some of them still friends of mine from that time and age. But I also remember that just before we moved to Eldoret, I was sent to boarding school myself. And the reason why I was sent to boarding school in class 7 was because there were these matrices that used to come to South B. They're called manoris those days. Yeah. And students like myself spent a lot of time on those matrices. And I think my parents noticed that this guy, if we don't do something right now, atapotea. So I was sent off to a boarding school in LD called Kaptagat Prep.
So as they live in Nairobi?
As they lived in Nairobi. I went to LD.
So means when you're growing up, your parents saw you had extra energy.
I don't know if it's the extra energy I had.
What kind of
maybe let's say
what kind of teenager were you?
I was my parents were very strict. Very Christian all the way. In fact, in my home, I used to wake up to the sounds of my dad praying at 4 a.m. in the morning. And he was no nonsense. There was a curfew for all of us. We had 3 boys and a girl, and me and the girl were just a year apart. And then the others were much younger than myself. The age gap between me and my next brother is 6 years. So a lot of the pressure was on the two of us, and especially me, her as firstborn, me as first son, to be kind of role models. It brought with it some cracks, you know, and I think that's why sometimes I'm also giving up my time in ropes, especially because I had a difficult relationship with my father in my teens, especially, and mostly because I look back now, I think in his eyes I was being rebellious. In my own eyes, I look back at it and I was just being a curious teenager, and I think that harnessing of that teenagehood was not done very well. Or, you know, as first parents, sometimes we don't know what to do with the firstborn so much. With the, you know, we get a grasp of it better with the other ones, but with the first ones, we are so, you know, you can't do this, you can't go here, and the strictness was so hard. So it was a difficult time for both of us.
For your father and for you. And your mother, I see you're not mentioning your mother in this story.
My mother was more laid back. Discipline fell. My dad believed so much in spare the rod, spoil the child. And so he took a very active and very front and center position in administering discipline. You know, most times it was him who would give us the caning. If he gave out any punishments, as in Mother was just, she was mostly there for the backup. Yeah, do what your dad says, blah, blah, blah. So you see, that's why I don't mention her so much, because at that moment in time, her role was more complementary to his.
So that friction between you and your dad, do you know where it started? Or do you have what made it worse? Or what was, in hindsight now when you look back?
I know what made it worse. In Form 1, first time, I was suspended from school.
What did you do? It's not something you can say on camera.
Now that we are on camera this time. I was suspended because of, I would say, curiosity.
Okay.
But here's what really happened. So I go to this school in Baringo, Sacho High School. And it's really miles away from everywhere. And you know, those days you'd go to a school like that, and the guys who are from like Nairobi, because that time we were still in Nai. The guys who are from Nairobi are sort of isolated. There's only like 5 or 6 of you, so you bunch up together. So the other people I knew who were from Nairobi, some of them were in Form 3, Form 4. It was a mixed school. Some of these Form 4 guys and a couple of Form 3 guys had some people that they were, I would say dating, but maybe that's not even the right word, maybe interested in the same school. And so they organized a plan to go and visit them in the dorms one night while, you know, everybody else was at prep time. So I was hired as a lookout. I didn't have a girlfriend, I didn't have anyone. My job was to go and sit and, you know, climb upon this tree and, you know, just as a lookout, say something like, cuckoo, cuckoo, you know, to warn guys if there was a watchie coming. So before I could say 1 or 2 of those cuckoos, the watchman had shown a light up the tree. I was brought down, was from much to the deputy headmaster's, you know, office, and then the rest were busted because they were already inside the dorms. And they were expelled. The only reason why I got suspended was because I wasn't actually in the girls' dorm. I was only playing lookout for a couple of friends who I thought I was trying to fit in with because we all came from the same city. But it brought me untold problems with especially my dad at that moment. I think that was really the straw that broke the camel's back, because previously, and I was actually a performer, my academics were really good. I was even third actually in Rift Valley in KCPE then. You know, so academic-wise, I really had no problem. My problem was just, you know, trying to navigate the pressures of teenagehood. So he came to school, and when the suspension letter came, it came at the end of the term, because this was happening just before the term ended for 1. So it basically said, Form 2, when other guys are opening, you come 2 weeks later with your parent. And so I went there. And my sister was in the same school. And she was a model student. In fact, she, at some point, was even deputy head girl. So there was a complete, complete difference between me and her, like night and day. One child is getting a lot of accolades for discipline, another one is here for a case of indiscipline. So my dad came and he took the initiative to cane me in front of the whole assembly.
The whole school?
Yes. And he volunteered to do that.
And there are girls in the school?
Yeah. Yeah.
When you're a teenager?
So that really did a number on my self-esteem in that school. And I think at that moment I would say I hated him. You know how you can say, yeah? And it did not help matters with our relationship. But like I say, I don't hold so much blame for him because I don't think there was so much he knew to do. It's only now that we are talking about parents and how parents can plug into their children, and in groups we are teaching parents how to connect with your child, especially in this digital era and things like that. But then, who was really teaching anything?
Trial and error.
Everybody was just, using the discipline way. If this is happening, discipline, get it out of their system. If this is happening, discipline. Smash it out and make sure that this child is actually a reformed child. And I think that's what he sought to do, especially because he was a Christian man. But it didn't work very well for us.